My name is Matt Kern. I am your host for this workout session, this breakout session. I'm very excited to introduce our speaker to you, and I'll do that in just a moment. But I wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of the pathway. Our speaker will be, again, joining us in just a moment. He will speak for about 20 minutes. We will have a question and answer period after he is done speaking. Feel free to use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, or even a chat feature if you prefer. And that way we will be able to address as many questions as we can from this. All right, we'll finish at 11:30 or perhaps a moment or two before. That will allow you to go to your next workshop. And if there are any questions or follow-up items, I think you know by now, manupcharlotte.org, or text, fill out the survey on your screen, and folks will respond to you appropriately. Okay, so I have the distinct pleasure of introducing you to our speaker. We'll talk about the power of presence. Our speaker is Jeff Usher with BeTheirDad.org. Jeff is an author. He's written 2 books, one, Be Their Dad, and Take Them by the Hand. And I hear he's working on a 3rd. Jeff is a lawyer by training. He is married for over 30 years, has 2 grown children. We have the privilege of hearing from Jeff now. Jeff, welcome, and take it away.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for that nice little introduction. And to all of you that are out there in this unique time virtually, welcome. Thanks for being a participant in this conference today, and by that, making a commitment to be more involved in the lives of not only your kids, but in other kids throughout the community who need you. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for being here. I'm excited to be here too. If you clicked on this session expecting to see someone named Dion Jones, Dion Jones was scheduled to be the speaker. He's the program director for Be Their Dad, but I work with him at Be Their Dad. Dion has taken ill. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here with you today, so here at the last minute, I'm filling in for him, and I hope I'll be able to do an adequate job in the next few minutes. So, a couple of things. One is, you can already see I'm an old guy. All right, I'm probably one of the oldest guys here at this conference, and that's okay. But what that means is, one of my strengths is that I've seen more than a lot of other folks. Doesn't mean I'm smarter, doesn't mean I'm wiser, doesn't mean I have all the answers, but I've kind of been, down the road, been there, done that. So I think one of the things I can do at this conference, now that you've heard some encouraging words in the first couple of hours and you're motivated and ready to move on to be more involved, is maybe tell a little story about a dad that I know that walked this same journey that you're trying to walk. And maybe that'll give you some perspective about where to go next and how you can be more involved in the lives of children. So in the few minutes that we have together today, I'm going to tell you a story about a dad that I know. But first, I'm going to take you back about 50 years, okay, 50 years before probably many of you were born. I'm going to set the stage for you. So we've got a 7th grade football player. This 7th grade football player is the smallest player on the team. And with his kind of mediocre abilities, he's one of those kids that sits on the end of the bench and waits until the coach thinks it's safe, and he goes into the game to play the last couple plays. You know the kid. There's one on every team. So it's a Thursday afternoon. 7th grade football team has a road trip to a neighboring junior high school. And 4 o'clock in the afternoon, kind of set the stage. some of you have been there before. Seventh grade football players play on practice fields. There's no bleachers, there's no scoreboard, there's no benches even for the players to sit on. It's just a field, okay? So as the game begins, this player sits at, or stands at the end of the bench, waiting for his time to go on. As the game begins, there's kind of a light sprinkle coming down, and by close to halftime, it's turned into a downpour. So kind of given this scenario, this young boy says to himself, I wonder if there could be anybody watching this game. Could there be any spectators at all? So his curiosity overcomes him. He kind of takes a peek over his shoulder to see if anybody's standing back there watching this game. And to his amazement and delight, there's 3 people standing back there. There's an older brother of one of the players. There's the dad of the star quarterback. And there's his dad, believe it or not. His dad had left work early that day to come to see the football game and to support his son. And in kind of the uniform of the day, he stood there in his button-down shirt and his tie, his wingtip shoes and his London fog overcoat, and he was soaked clear through, just like his son was sitting on the bench. Well, the young player smiled and he turned back around and he continued to watch the game. And kind of on schedule, his team went up by a couple of touchdowns, and with about a minute to play, coach called him to get in there, and he did. He played 3 plays, never touched the ball, never engaged another player, had no impact on the outcome of the game that day. So fast forward with me now, 25 years. Same small player, now grown up. He's gone off to college, he's gone off to law school, got married. He's a father himself. He has 2 school-aged children. And he's come to that point in his life where he's questioning, is he doing a good job as a father? So he thinks about what is his role and what should he be doing. He thinks back to that day in 7th grade, in that football game when his dad was standing behind the bench. And he realizes that what was most important to his dad, and what made his dad the unique person in his life, was that he was always present. He was always there to support his son. So he thinks about that, and he thinks about how his life has progressed since then. And he's been really fortunate. There's been lots of other opportunities where his dad could come to watch. He played football and sat on the bench for another 5 years. He participated on other athletic teams where he actually did play. And he had other moments of recognition going through school and growing up. But he realizes that since that day at Lakeside Junior High School, never again has he looked over his shoulder to see if his dad was standing there. You see, he realizes that if his dad would stand there in the pouring rain on that day, then he would always be there. And on those rare occasions when he couldn't be there in person, that he was always there in spirit. And this young dad knew that. And he realized that because of that presence, because of his dad's willingness to always be there, that he had the courage and the confidence to chase his dreams and to live a fulfilling life. And that had been the difference. And so this dad began to call that the power of presence. And he defined that as when someone who loves you unconditionally will always be there, no matter what the circumstances. The power of presence. And from that point, the dad decided that he would always be present in his children's lives. So not long after that, the dad had an opportunity to attend a high school graduation of a family friend. So he sat in the bleachers, watching as these graduates walked across the stage at commencement. And as they did, someone from the school handed them a diploma. And the dad realized that that diploma signified that the school believed that academically, those graduates were ready to move on to the next step in their lives, whether it was full-time employment, technical school, college, whatever. Academically, they were ready. But as he watched and thought about that, he also imagined that each one of those graduates was wearing a backpack. And in that backpack, there were lessons, there were values, and there were experiences that those kids would need to go on to the next steps practically, socially, emotionally, and even spiritually. And at that point, he realized that while the school gave them the diploma, it was up to somebody else to fill the backpack. And he realized that there were certain lessons, certain values, and certain experiences that only dads could provide and only dads could put in that backpack. He thought back to his own dad, and he thought about the lessons that he had taught him that nobody else had been able to teach him. Taught him how to ride a bike, drive a car, how to shave, how to throw a curveball, how to shake a hand, how to show respect, how to let people know that your word is your bond. There were values that came directly from his dad. They included hard work, discipline, integrity, honesty, and faith. Things that only his dad had put in the backpack that he had now worn for some 40 years. So he decided that that was his responsibility too. And this dad now needed to get to work, putting those values, experiences, and lessons in the backpacks of his own children. And he realized that there was a lot of work to do. Well, at the same time, while he's watching these older kids, these graduates walking across commencement, he thought to himself, you know, in times in our life when we make critical decisions, or times in our life when we decide between right and wrong, most of us have a little voice that we hear in our ear. That voice helps us make those decisions or keeps us on the line between right and wrong. This dad realized that the voice that he hears was still his dad. So he thought about his daughter for a minute, his young daughter, and he fast forwarded to her prom night. He thought, on prom night, when my daughter is out there making some critical decisions about whose car to get in and whether she's going to drink and whether she's going to use drugs or whether there might be other activities that she would engage in, whose voice was she going to hear? Was it going to be the girlfriend's? Was it going to be her date? Or hopefully was it going to be her dad's? And the dad thought, the way that I'll know that is by spending time with her and giving her the lessons and giving her the values so that she'll hear that voice not only on prom night, but as she goes forward into the future. So he determined that he would begin to be present in his kids' lives, that he would fill their backpacks, and that he would help them hear his voice as they walked into adulthood. And so what he decided at that moment was that the most important thing that he could do in his life was be present in his kids' lives. And so he began to change. And like his dad, he left work early to go to football games. when career opportunities came along and job assignments came along that conflicted with what he wanted to do with his children, he often passed those by. When he was invited by his buddies to play golf or cards or engage in other recreational activities, he took a pass because he had other more important things to do. And he decided that maybe he could do those things later. So before long, his children were going to be off to college and beyond, and he'd have plenty of time to engage in his career and to make more money and to play golf and to play cards and do all those things that grown-up boys do. And so he committed to do some other things. He started to coach soccer. He taught Sunday school. He left work early and went to all the volleyball games. And the school concerts always showed up on his calendar. And he became what we call a be there dad. Well, fortunately for him, as the years went by, he was present. He worked on the backpack. He worked on the values and the experiences. His kids graduated high school too. They walked across the stage. They got their diplomas. And as he watched his kids, he thought to himself, I've done all that I can do to fill their backpacks so they'll be ready to go out into the world. And he sent them off with that confidence. So now in this story, the dad is an empty nester. And he wonders to himself, are there other dads out there struggling with these same issues? Are there other dads who have trouble setting priorities? All dads have jobs. All dads have chores to do. All dads are involved in their church, and they're asked to engage in other volunteer activities. It fills up their time. They're busy guys. Yet people like Coach Jeff keep telling them, be more involved in the lives of your kids. How am I going to do that? And so this dad decided that he would start to bring dads together in small groups, and they would talk about those issues and those questions, and they try to figure them out and help each other. So this dad said to them, you need to have a vision. You need to have a plan like you do for everything else, so you know where you're going with your kids. He reminded them that Yogi told us long ago that if you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up somewhere else. So make a plan and make a vision. As an offshoot of these workshops, it was amazing to this dad that when he called dads together from all over the community, and dads gathered, and they came from different neighborhoods, they came from different economic status, different educational experiences, they had different cultural backgrounds, they were even different colors. When they came together and they talked about dads, all those demographics fell away. And they talked about their kids, and they talked about the future, and those other things became non-issues and irrelevant. And he wondered in this day and time how many other places that people were able to get together and talk openly about the important issues, their kids and the future, and let those other issues of differences go by. So he continued to work. And he wrote a book, and then he started to do workshops, and then he wrote a blog, and he continued to encourage dads to be involved and be present in the lives of their children. He was fortunate enough that he was approached by the school system, and the school system said, we'd like you to get dads involved in the schools. And so they created dads groups within the schools. And now there was an easy place for these other dads to go and be engaged with their kids and with others. And as this all expanded, it became evident that beyond his own kids, beyond the kids of the other dads that were involved, there were other children out there that needed their help too. And so he encouraged those dads to become mentors and reading buddies and coaches for Let Me Run and other organizations like that. And they did. And they started to impact kids beyond their own biological kids. You see, it became his mission that every kid, no matter where they were, who they were, that they too would feel this power of presence, that there would be somebody that would love them unconditionally and always be there, no matter what the circumstances. And he began to remind people that nobody wins until we all do. And so this dad found his calling in his life. And so he went on to pursue that. And today he speaks at conferences like this. He talks to dads and he encourages them to be present, to fill backpacks, to reach out to other kids. In those years when he was a soccer coach, he used to tell his players, get the ball close to the goal, good things will happen. So as dads, get close to your kids, good things will happen. Raising your kids is the most important thing you can do in your life. And so this dad, the smallest player on the football team, has grown to be an old man. And he stands before you today. Okay? He's lived his life. He's been present in his kids' lives. He's filled their backpacks. And now he's encouraging others. And so I stand here today and encourage you to do what I've done in my journey in life. And that's be present in your life, in your kids' lives. Fill those backpacks. Think about where you want to go with values, with lessons, with experiences. Show up. Stay close to your kids. Good things will happen. But also remember that there are others that are out there that need you just as badly, and that nobody wins until we all do. So, thank you for letting me share with you today. Matt, back to you.
Oh, Jeff, thank you so much. Very powerful message and straight from your heart and your life's experience. And I really appreciate that. I think so much we as men, we don't really have that role model a lot. And you just shared with us a wonderful, a beautiful way to be a role model. And I appreciate hearing that a gentleman of your stature says the most important thing in life is my family and my children, at a time when we hear it's about money or cars or status. And wow, thank you so much, Jeff.
Sure, glad to do it.
So, Jeff, if I'm a dad now and my heart's been touched by the Lord and I'm energetic to be more of that present dad, and I want to be equipped, where do you think I should go? Where can I go?
Well, obviously we're here today. Be Their Dad is an organization. We have a nonprofit organization, and we have a lot of resources that you can go to get started. We have a website called BeTheirDad.org. You can go there.
Okay.
There's a place where you can indicate that you'd like us to contact you to help you get more involved. That's the first thing. The second thing is we do put formal dads groups in elementary schools in and around Charlotte, Mecklenburg. If we already have a group in your school, you could get involved directly there. Or if you have an interest in starting a program at your school, give us a call, get on the website, send us a note, and we can help you establish that as well. So that's kind of first step. And obviously, I'm always here. You can send me an email, and I'd be love to talk to you and help you through that.
All right. Thank you. In our closing moment, this is a tough question for you. Give me the best thing you felt like you did with your children, aside from, in addition to spending time and being present. What was one thing that, man, you figured out you did that was Wow, such an impact.
Yeah, so I think two things. I go back to the presence, always be there, always show up and make that a priority. But I would actually share something that Derwin shared this morning briefly in his opening sermon, and that is share with your kids your mistakes and your shortcomings. Because so many times our kids don't want to come to us and tell us that they failed the test, they didn't make the team, somebody bullied them on the playground, or whatever that might be. They don't know how to do that. And if you can role model for your children your shortcomings, your mistakes, your problems, then they will learn how to do that. And I think the experts would tell us that when we let go of those things, we let go of those mistakes, those problems, those issues, then we can move on to the positive things. So again, just real briefly, I used to pick something that every day at the dinner table. I would tell the kids something that I did that was a mistake. I printed 50 pages of a report that was only supposed to be 2, or I turned the wrong way when I was trying to go to Matt's house. It could be simple things. Sometimes it could be complex things, but they need to know that you're human. You're willing to admit mistakes and put them out, in the open. So then they'll do the same thing and you can help them.
Very good. Well, again, Jeff Usher, BeTheirDad.org is your contact. Again, Jeff, thanks so much. I must say that hearing you be God with skin to your children is our calling, just as God is calling to us and wants to fill our backpack so we can fill others. Thank you so much, Jeff. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you to everybody else that's tuned in this morning. So everybody have a blessed day. Thank you.